daybreak here on the Rise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's take a look at This Day, our sister publication. Its leading headline this morning: Sanwo-Olu seeking re-election on success of my first term. He's promising to make Lagos a 21st century success story. Just above that, no PVC, no voting in the 2023 elections. That's from INEC. Some riders there, voter buyers, things won't go scot-free, IG warns. Meanwhile, EFCC says Diezani paid out $115 million to compromise the 2015 polls. Above the nameplate of This Day this morning, federal government blames governors for level of hardship in the country.
I'm taking a quick look at the Punch newspaper this morning. The screaming headline here is on fuel scarcity. Says no planned price hike, says federal government, queues spread. The rider here says there will not be fuel price hike during Yuletide period, says government. NMDPRA, that's Nigerian midstream downstream petroleum regulatory agency, assures motorists current stock can last for 34 days. The last rider there says government can't continue subsidy amid diversion, an NNPC source exactly quoted as saying that. They'll talk about elections. INEC gears up for the election in Northeast, deploys BVAS. Another says government pays ASU November salary, withholds arrears. A whole lot playing out on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Well, the nation is leading with that comment from the minister saying the states are to blame for rising poverty and hardship. And the schools to adopt mother tongue as a medium of instruction. That's according to the Minister of Education. INEC says PVC mandatory for voting in 2023 general election.
Let's take a look at the Guardian Nigeria this morning. NGF mom as federal government shifts blame for high poverty to governors. And just below there, AIDS Day, no end to infection by 2030 as 1.8 million Nigerians live with HIV.
And the leadership newspaper here, the First Lady of the news this morning, amid strong condemnation, Aisha Buhari's critic Aminu arraigned in secret and jailed. That story is on page 4. The writer there says CUPP offers free legal service. Nigerian students, others demand his immediate release. Aminu is a respectful, peaceful boy, says family. Here article says APC has done nothing for Nigeria in 8 years. Well, the regular there on page 19 of the leadership newspaper this morning. And yes, diversion logistics responsible for fuel scarcity. You heard that on our bulletin here on Daybreak this morning. Those are the stories making the rounds on leadership paper today.
This is the Financial Times. Brussels and Yellen turn up heat on Musk over Twitter, and tourists shun London for Europe after enter tax-free shopping.
The Guardian UK this morning revealed 70% of England's water firms in foreign hands. That leading photo there are Ngozi Fulani. Royal aide resigns after questioning that black guest at palace over origins. Meanwhile, MOJ requests use of 400 police cells for prisoners.
Well, an iPaper this morning here. The streaming headline says UK playing with fire after COVID jabs. U-turn, warn scientists. The writer there says UK not prepared for major COVID variant and lacks capability to make jab quickly after failing to capitalize on success in pandemic. Virologists warn. But that interesting story making the rounds up there about the monarchy. It says royals engulfed in racism row. The writer says Prince William's godmother resigns after unacceptable comments. Another says palace apologizes to charity founder asked if she was from Africa.
Yeah, unacceptable comments from the lady in waiting. The Daily Telegraph says the lady in waiting resigns in palace racism row and strikes on every day in the UK until Christmas.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Ballo, who joins us from our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us as always. Now let's take a look at the leading story on This Day this morning, talking about Lagos State Governor Sanwo-Olu He's saying he's seeking re-election on the success of his first term. What are some of those successes, and does he stand a chance, or what are his chances, Emmanuel?
Nkechi, welcome back. Yes, that's a good story. And in an election season, is a story that is going to do well for the the governor seeking re-election. And he's saying that he's running on his record, and it's always good to hear anybody seeking office talking about their records in office. I mean, that's a very good place to start to run from. And not just because they are anointed or because the opposition is weak or because of anything. He's saying, this governor is saying boldly that, look, I want to run on my record. If you're going to vote for me, look at the things I've done and all of that. But then I think Lagos has this system of, receiving a lot of anointing from Asiwaju himself. Stories of past governors who, got re-elected, say they did that because the ultimate godfather of Lagos politics wants it like that. But Sanwo-Olu seemed to, probably not differing from that, but saying that, well, beyond whatever anointing you talk about, look at what I've done. And his commissioner of information was reeling out some of those things. Say, Sanwo-Olu has shown strong leadership, especially during COVID-19. Sadly, he has to live with the crisis of the NSAS crisis. And he has to live with the memories and the history and the action or inactions that he took during those periods. I think that would dog him into his as his sixth for second time. But he's saying, well, that he should be judged on the other things he's done in the area of showing strong leadership with the crisis of whether it is the problem of transportation or how COVID was handled in such a metropolitan place as Lagos. So he's pointing those out and reeling them out and saying, well, on this, I think I stand a chance. And the presidential candidate of the APC, the party for which he's running, is also, I mean, they share the same platform. So maybe that will be strong enough to pull him into success. But he's got Jandor of the PDP and other contestants to deal with.
Well, Emmanuel, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. Pretty interesting, headline there says no planned price hike. That's the federal government saying that, even as queues spread. And also says there will not be a fuel price hike during the Yuletide period. Emmanuel, correct me if I'm wrong. We are in the Yuletide period. There is fuel price hike. It is selling from 180 naira to over 250 naira, depends on where you're buying it from in Nigeria. What do you make of this?
You're right. There isn't much of a reassurance in that, but at least finally, the federal government is talking. Yesterday we were lamenting, if you remember, we were saying that nobody is talking to us. We don't even seem to know. Nobody seems to understand the problem, what is fueling it, and why the crisis is still there. But we're running into December and we're still having those problems. And you're right. I don't see how this way, we actually, relax in the next few weeks as we head into Christmas. So it's going to be a bleak one for everyone. If you just look outside your window, you see those long queues, even not far from where we're doing this. So those are the scenes you find everywhere. It's quite distressing. But the federal government are assuring that, look, it's got enough to be able to deal with the crisis. So these are some of the things that, some of the contradictions of this government and crisis that we have to live with. Though in another report elsewhere, the Minister of Petroleum is reassuring us that from next year, this will stop, owing to the fact that the Dangote refineries will be coming on. But that seems to be some glimmer of hope there, that this year will be better. But it seems as if this is going to linger on into the new year. I don't see how we're not going to have a bleak Christmas, and because we're already in the season. So yes, there are hopes or there are attempts at reassuring Nigerians, but clearly the problems are there, and we're seeing them and we're dealing with them every day. So it beats comments from the federal government or reassurances. On the ground, we're not seeing much of that translating into easing some of the hardship associated with these shortages and those long queues that we're seeing.
Manuel, we do know that these shortages and scarcity come with price hikes and inflation. On the front page of this day, the federal government is blaming governors for the level of hardship in the country. They're advising them to stop building airports and flyovers. Is this a jab for a governor?
Well, yes, it's like a jab at one particular governor that we all know about, with flyovers and all of that. But the bigger picture of it is that statement, and I think a lot of people, there have been all sorts of reaction to it, where people saying that it's all part of what this government has been doing, passing the buck and not taking responsibility, not taking leadership. You remember Peter Obi the other saying that on day one he's going to own up to the troubles. He's not going to blame anyone. He's going to take responsibility and stand on it. So it's the sort of leadership that people want to see, but they are not seeing when you continuously blame someone else other than your programs, your policy. It's a federation. If the states are failing, it must be because the federal government is not handling some things very well. Of course, we're all saying that here. We're always telling the state governments to look inwards to see what they can do and with whatever they are getting. But the states will tell you that they're also grappling with a whole lot of things. They're not getting enough. And some of the policies at the center affect them a lot. Of course, the state can do well by cutting down on some of the overhead, especially the bloating side of the size of governance in the states, the opulence, the fact that there's a lot of leakages and wastage, the fact that these states don't even generate enough internal revenues to be able to handle some things, and the fact that they just depend on whatever comes from the center. Those are issues that states are grappling with, and a lot of states are beginning to really think outside the box to see how they can help situation. But it's a federation, and for the federal government to pass the blame in this manner to the states. Already the Guardian newspaper is saying we're here to hear from the Governors Forum and to hear what they are going to say, the frustration they are facing in the polity, because the federal government is saying, well, it's not our fault, blame it on the governors. But there are governors who will tell you that even the problem of security, they will say, look, they are handicapped, that everything goes back to the center and it limits what they are going to do. We're here to hear from the Governors Forum, like the Guardian newspaper is reporting. It's mom. Are they taking the blame, or are they also going to reply maybe at the appropriate time? They need to say something, because we're watching. The federal government say it's your fault, and we need to hear them say, look, it's not our fault, but this was. So there's a lot of blame to be able to pass around between the two of them. But Nigerians are watching. Want to see changes.
I'm sure we're going to be hearing from the Governors Forum. However, even as you said that the federal government is always passing blame, some of the things that were said actually makes a little bit of sense, in the fact that some of the state governors and even the federal government itself has to focus on investing where it really matters. I mean, MBS has said that 113 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. That's 63% of the populations. And so the state government should definitely listen to the federal government, and the federal government should listen to itself as well in investing where it really matters to uplift more people out of poverty. However, let's talk about 2023 elections and the PVC. INEC says no PVC, no voting, and one might think, I mean, everyone should know that, but it's reassuring for INEC to keep reiterating all these rules, to keep telling Nigerians how the elections will take place, what they need to do to be eligible to vote and for their vote to count, Emmanuel.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think we have to do more of that and continuously, engage in voters, yes, voters education, and also tell people what to do. But I really don't know why they have to tell people that without PVC they can't vote. I thought that's taken for granted, that you need a PVC. But of course, we're going into an election that is going to be so technologically based. And so, yes, a lot of people will have to know what's happening. The beavers, which has generated a lot of, not excitement and controversy, recently with APC even, raising concerns. But then the other party saying that the APC is scared of the use of technology. technology, because it's going to cut out a whole lot of things. But what INEC is doing is reassuring all of us that votes are going to count, and this is going to be a revolutionary kind of election. It's an election where the numbers will matter. It's an election where you cannot cut corners. The use of thugs, already the IG is going to say is going to be tough on the whole. One profound thing there in Kejila is very interesting is that, look, beyond those causing the trouble, the police or the police authorities will actually go after the politicians. It's not just enough to say blame the supporters. The police boss is saying that, look, we're going to go after the sponsors, the people for whom anybody is going to attack a campaign or is going to attack people. And I think that's profound, because in the past, you have people arrested, but you have those who send them on the street, who ask them to do this, go scot-free. So, if, for instance, the problem is coming from any party A, the police boss is saying, look, we're going to descend heavily on politicians who are fueling the crisis. So, yes, this has to go on and on. The reassurances by INEC on one hand, and also a lot of, voters education program in place, so that people understand very well what to do and not to panic on election day or cause confusion. And then alongside that is the security of the election itself, apart from the science of it. So this will go hand in hand, and I think that's what is playing out in this story.
Always a pleasure having you here on Daybreak. With that said, on Press Preview, let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can also join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaybreak.